Well, the Bruins have found themselves a new top target as a wideout through the portal, but they've also lost somebody as well.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Where we get started today is the UCLA Bruins have continued to make their moves in the portal, right? You're thinking, all right, what are the Bruins going to do? Well, the big thing is they've gone out and got Joey Aguilar's biggest target from App State. So Kaedin Robinson coming to UCLA. He was a big touchdown target for Aguilar the last couple of years. Let's go over the numbers for the North Carolina native. Started his career at UCF, went to App State, and then with all the latest extra eligibility still with COVID, with the JUCO ruling, this is a guy that's been able to utilize his extra year of eligibility with both the COVID eligibility, utilizing the JUCO extra year granted by the NCAA, which is how UCLA has brought an all Sun Belt performer, an all Sun Belt honorable mention from App State to UCLA. Now, I think the Bruins receiver room is pretty stacked already, but after losing a good slot receiver like Logan Loyer, you lose J. Michael Sturdivant, you're losing some vertical threats. You lost your slot guy. I think and I hope the health of Rico Flores Jr., although Deshaun Foster saying his setback and injury is going to keep him out through spring practice into fall. The former Notre Dame product turned UCLA Bruin this last year, went through injury in 2024. That means UCLA is going to need some more depth from the receivers with people who know the offense going through spring, going through all of fall camp, if Flores is going to take a lot of time to recover. And then losing the potential vertical threat that UCLA, I think, wasted in J. Michael Sturdivant when he could have had so many more touches in his Bruin career. You bring in a guy like Kaedin Robinson, right? He played 26 games at App State, had 1,300 yards heading into the 2024 season, and had 13 touchdowns heading into a solid, what was supposed to be senior year. He had 10 touchdowns in 2023 when App State was good, playing for the Sun Belt Championship. In 2024, this was Robinson's stats. He had 53 receptions, 840 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with a 50-yard catch, and averaged close to 93 yards a game. That was in 9 games played. All right, so his quarterback played 11. He played 9. So he was well on his way to breaking the yardage mark, and maybe with a good day having 1,000 yards in 10 games, maybe 11. So this was his best season in my mind in terms of yardage and receptions. The year prior was a really good year, and then he had 10 touchdown grabs. So when it came to getting touchdowns, the defenses maybe clamped down on Robinson's ability to go score. But last year was his best year at App State in terms of yards per catch. So that vertical threat, getting first downs, moving the chains, going up and down the field, that is what Robinson's going to bring already with some chemistry with the expected starter in 2025. You don't bring in a guy like Aguilar and not expect him to start. Now, there's been crazier situations where you bring in a guy in a portal, you bring in the veteran guy, and maybe he doesn't cut out, and there's a superstar freshman quarterback waiting in the wing. That doesn't seem to be the case at the moment, considering most of these guys at UCLA are going to have to learn a new system and have had very limited experiences, and they're all very young, from guys who have been in the program 2 years, 1 year, transferred in, the incoming freshman that Tino, the new UCLA quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator, picked out as a late commit. Aguilar now has got his running mate, and I think that's a good get for UCLA in the portal and the receiver realm. It means you got Mikey Matthews, you've got Jadon Wilson, you bring in Kaedin Robinson, who I think is an absolutely great find and great get for UCLA, all because the JUCO ruling allowed these guys to get that extra year, right? 2019, 2020, or later. And then these guys are like, all right. And these are already guys, some of which were using their COVID year or COVID years to extend their careers by a year or two. And Robinson coming to UCLA is an absolute, I think, great get. Now, you win some and you lose some. So what UCLA, as I saw on the day this podcast is going to be posted, January 12th, being tweeted out by Akana Kaeo. He was an edge rusher. He was supposed to be a fortification of sorts from Utah coming to UCLA as an edge rusher, a transfer that Akakamoloi was going to bring into the fold and add to the rotation of defensive linemen. Now, UCLA is currently attempting to go after Zahir Mathis. He's one of the most coveted prospects left that are uncommitted in the class of 2025. But the Bruins, you look at their 2025 commits already. This is the high school class. You've got Cole Cogshell, who is one of the top recruited players for UCLA's current recruiting class of the 18 that signed, edge rusher. You've got the likes of Juju Walls from Pittsburgh, California. That's 2 edge rushers. You got Lucian Hollins, all right? Because remember, UCLA had a top-tier edge rushing product who then flipped and went to Ohio State. The Bruins, in the last second, were able to flip Holland to sign to UCLA, who I believe was initially committed to Boise. And then technically, Scott Taylor from Loyola, a nice get, 6'4", 3 stars, maybe going to be more of a hybrid option, I believe. I remember reading when he signed and was choosing UCLA. So the Bruins already have 4 edges signed in their current high school class. Now you look in their portal gets, the defensive line, they've got Ashton Sanders. Nico DeVilliers is an edge rusher from Arkansas, but some of these guys they've brought in had limited playing time either on the offensive line or the defensive line. And while we're talking more the edge rushing, the Bruins will have a lot of potential young talent, some of which may not stay in the defensive line, some which might bounce back and forth, have a Femi Oladejo role, maybe one play here, one play there, or somebody who's going to turn into beast off the edge and make those game-changing plays that UCLA hopes these new guys can make. But losing Kaeo is an interesting one. And I had seen the rumblings that there's a UCLA transfer. All right, they're going to look other ways. These guys can go get recruited, or does that mean the changing of the guard, of shifting perspectives? Some guys want to go back to their home, right? Maybe Utah re-recruited. We saw last year Keegan Jones completely commit somewhere else through the portal and then come back to UCLA. So maybe it's one of those situations where maybe you want to go back to Utah. I don't know. He hasn't chosen where. Maybe there's another school that says he wants to go, or he's like, I want to go start somewhere and then transfer again. There are many options for these guys who go in the portal, which can include going back to their original school, not liking the current fit, wanting playing time elsewhere, or some other school throwing the bag. And if they're looking elsewhere, it's like, hey, I want to go and check out these schemes and fits. And now that UCLA has started to get new coaches, remember, they got the new defensive line coach coming in as well. I wonder how that's all coming together now that he can officially talk to recruits as a UCLA D-line coach. All right. With the O-line, D-line, everything shifting. A lot of new coaching and staff changes and updates and promotions coming for Deshaun Foster's squad. I wonder if that either affected recruiting or how that'll affect it going forward. But for now, UCLA, with Robinson coming in, I think that's good for the Bruins, a good vertical threat to go with Aguilar, to bring in, hey, that's a tandem where he's going to find himself the ball. Hopefully Carter Shaw can make some plays in addition. And then you've got all sorts of options to use, hopefully, for Tino Sincero, even those who I'm just blanking off the top of my head right now. The receiver room, I think, is pretty full and stacked as it is. They just got the running back, Anthony Woods. You bring in Berger, some youngster running backs. I think the Bruins, needing a tight end and maybe one more offensive lineman, can turn this offense into something a bit more productive than it was in 2024. I want to be excited and say it's going to blow up, but anything that's better than it was last year is going to be termed up a blow up and a glow up. So hopefully in 2025, they simply show up. All right. Now UCLA, they have, I believe, 21 transfer portal commits, with one decommitting and going elsewhere. But I think Robinson is really good find, and we hope the best to Kaho wherever he goes. All right. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games are incredible experiences, and it can bring fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games, of other big-time sporting events, and I can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Hey, Game Time is the place to go, and they've got a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. All Game Time Picks does is filter out the fluff to get you incredible deals on tickets and seats right before the game leading up to the event. You don't have to waste your time looking for all those seats and searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time is great. Game Time Picks has helped me recently when I was in New York, going through 4 different sporting events to find the best seats, best prices possible, and it helped me out numerous times, whether I was on the West Coast, on the East Coast, going to sporting events. Game Time Picks can help you get out those best deals. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Locked On UCLA. Hey, the Bruins, they're doing things in the portal. I've liked what they've done so far. They've found pieces in every regard that they've lost. You know, of course, beefing up the D-line is going to take a bit more of growing with what they have and hope the young pieces can translate into freshman success or sensations. And then finding a linebacker or two. They definitely need a tight end. If they can get the Montana State kid, if he hasn't committed at this point of the podcast when you're listening or watching, Rohan Jones, that would be a good get for the Bruins. There's still a couple of pieces. But in terms of the bulk commits, even though UCLA had a lot of commits late in 24, the bulk, I think, is mostly done. Now it's finding the right fits. If they can find those pieces that can fill the gaps, the Bruins could have an excellent, and I mean excellent, finish to this recruiting class for 2025 if they can get either an edge rusher like Zahir Mathis, a little less likely in my opinion, or go find those tight ends and an extra offensive lineman or two. And that can truly, in addition to a linebacker, fill out this class quite nicely, which I think would be an upgrade in certain spots or reloading in most regards for UCLA into 2025. Get your hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.